Good morning, diners, and welcome to another special coronavirus edition of the Collapse Morning Wake Up Call, Cooking Zone, and Collapse Cafe of the Doomstead Diner. And today is St. Patty's Day. As I record this, you'll probably see it after Thanksgiving. Not Thanksgiving, St. Patty's Day. After Thanksgiving, that'll be waiting a while. No. We'll have something around Thanksgiving for that holiday. Unless coronavirus kills everybody before then, okay? Or the internet goes dark, which is a little more likely. All right. It is St. Patty's Day. So, we are having traditional St. Patty's fare, all right, corned beef and cabbage, and we went from Italian yesterday with the discussion with Ugo Bardi and Keith, otherwise known as K-Dog, and George Mobus. We had Italian food, and today it's Irish food, okay? And, this is European, all right, fare. And we went from southern Italy up through France. We skipped over France. They have a lot of good cuisine up there, but we skipped over them. We swam the pond. We crossed over England, where they, have good fish and chips, but just about nothing else. And then across the Irish Straits, and now we're, in Dublin or something, I guess. And we're going with corned beef and cabbage today. In New York, when I was growing up, after I came back from Brazil, the neighborhood that I lived in Flushing, was Irish and Italian. All right? Those were the two ethnic groups. The people who owned the homes in that area, it was a lower middle class area of Queens. The people who owned the homes were first generation Italians and Irish, and their kids, who were the kids that I went to school with, were second generation. All right, and the ethnic divide between the Italians and Irish was very significant in those years in my neighborhood. The Italians, or the Irish, as I have mentioned before in prior videos, took over the New York City police force and became the dominant ethnic group of that organization. And conversely, the Italians ran the mafia. So you had the crooks and the cops. One side, who's the bigger crook? There's a big good question for you. But it was, an interesting dynamic in those years. And, these days, that neighborhood has gone completely Asian. And the Flushing Main Street area, where I haunted, over the years, and I had to pass through on my way to Stuyvesant. It was it's turned into one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Chinatown in the world. Bigger than the original Chinatown that's in Manhattan, and bigger than the Chinatown that's in San Francisco. Okay, and it's supposed to be fantastic food, which tempts me sometimes to go back there and check it out just for the food. But then I would have to go look at my old house, and I've looked at it on Google Earth, and it's got a fence around it. It looks so ugly now. It's so sad. But anyway, all right. So let's move on. Enough of our history lesson about the ethnic groups in New York City in the 1960s and 70s, and let's look at our meal before we go into the latest shit that's going down in coronavirus, and there's still more than yesterday. All right, gets worse every day. We'll start with our beverages for the day, and St. Patty's Day, got to drink beer. And normally, if this was Irish in the old days, you would be drinking Guinness. But today, no. Okay? Today, we're drinking Corona. I can't get over that. Every time I use the bottle. Okay. So Corona beer. And to wash down our food, we're having Alaskan glacial spring water once again. The best water in the world, coming down from the glaciers that are still there on Denali and up the Kinnick River and so forth and so on. And the water keeps flowing. It's great. All right. Last thing we have problems with here in the valley is water. There's plenty of it. And this meal takes a lot of butter, and we, of course, are going to be using the best Kerry Irish Gold butter, imported from Ireland, for our butter that's going to go on our potatoes and our carrots and on our cabbage and so forth. So I'll probably use a half a stick before it's all said and done. Although I will not, I will not eat this whole meal at this sitting. But it makes a nice picture this way. It's going to go back in the fridge, and then I'll eat it a little at a time as I get hungry. So that butter is going to go on carrots. Okay, those are Alaska grown carrots, local. All right, eating local. And then we have a potato chowder here. Okay, very thick and rich, like the chowders that I always make and all the soups that I make from scratch. Okay, and lots of good Alaska potatoes in there. No, not Irish potatoes. Okay, we got Alaska potatoes in there, which are great potatoes, by the way. Okay, these are Alaska Reds that I use, and also 2 potatoes that got pressure cooked, or not 2 potatoes, but 1 potato cut in half. They got pressure cooked with the corned beef and cabbage. So, it's potatoes, right? And the Irish are famous for eating potatoes. You might remember the old joke, what's a 9-course Irish meal? 3 potatoes and a 6-pack. That one went around when I was a kid in the neighborhood. So we got a lot of potatoes there, a lot of carbo, all right? And with all the sour cream that I got loaded on here and all the butter I'm going to load on it, tons of fat, all right? The calorie level is high. I don't need more than like 1,200 calories in a day. So it's going to be tough to even just finish a potato. And then the main course, the corned beef and cabbage. All right? And I've got a heaping big pile of corned beef there. And then my cabbage, okay, I have one traditional cabbage, it's a quarter, or it's actually a fifth. But I cut this one up into 5 wedges, cabbage. But I went this time to try, I haven't done this before, mini cabbages. Mini cabbages, otherwise known as Brussels sprouts, these guys. Okay? And see how they would come out in the pressure cooker. I don't know yet, I haven't tried it. Because I do like, in general, Brussels sprouts better than I like regular cabbage. And they all come from the same family. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, they're all from the same family. They've just been bred to be grown a certain way over the centuries and millennia by Homo sapiens. They didn't grow in nature in that way originally. And it's a great vegetable because it grows well in many climates. We grow great cabbage up here on the last great frontier. It's another thing that is very good. And I'm not sure if this cabbage is local, though. I don't know. It didn't have a label on it when I bought it. And, when you look at the picture that's on at the beginning of the video, you'll see that it's all swimming in a nice sauce. And that sauce today, if you recall from last year, I did my pressure cooking utilizing, sake as my vino or alcohol of choice in that pressure cook. This time around, I went more traditional. The Irish, when they do corned beef, they generally use beer, okay? And again, Guinness stout, usually. And stout's okay, but it's not my favorite beer. So I used two beers. I used a Deschutes Porter, which is one of my favorite beers these days. Deschutes, they're from Oregon. And a Sam Adams Boston Lager, okay? Sam Adams from Boston, Massachusetts. One of the best craft beers in the FS of A, and has been around. It's one of the oldest ones. Also, when the craft beers really started to come in, and people in the know got away from the piss water of Budweiser and Miller beer that America has been known for, which is piss water, okay? And those beers are very good. They stack up against any beers in the world. They win contests against the German beers, against the Danish beers. They're good beers. Okay. Now we're looking at some charts about the coronavirus, which continues to progress apace. We still only have one case that I'm aware of here in Alaska. Second day, one case still. So we're doing good. However, things are heating up down in the lower 48. Gavin Newsom today announced that he doesn't think that the schools, the California public schools, are going to reopen this year. Okay? They're going to be closed all the way until summer break. Now think about that for a minute. Okay? Are those teachers still going to get paid? Well, according to one of the diners, they have to be paid. They have a contract. And, that doesn't necessarily mean anything because, the government could say, well, due to the emergency situation, the contract is suspended or something like that. That's more than possible as one solution. But then, of course, that's still more people that are going to be walking on the unemployment lines, which means the unemployment figures, in theory, would shoot up. But somehow they'll be massaged to show that they didn't skyrocket. And if they are paid, where's the money coming from? The tax receipts in California were already starting to depress because property values are dropping, all the wildfires, all the drought, etc. So it's hard to see where this money to pay the teachers will come from. And, the people who still are paying property taxes, are they really going to stand for being taxed to pay for schools and the teachers when they're not working and the kids are not in school? And they have to arrange daycare or something to try to bridge this gap, however long it is, which is still a mystery. All right? At least Gavin Newsom owns up to the fact that it's probably not going to be over in 2 weeks. and will continue on into the summer, which is, maybe by the summer they could have a vaccine available. I don't know. And then speaking of vaccines, there's a rumor going around that Trumpavetsky has tried to buy from a German company working on a vaccine the exclusive rights to this vaccine. Now talk about profit-making, disaster capitalism, emoluments, using the office for your own personal gain, and a complete lack of moral integrity. You can't beat that. You just can't. All right? And one can only hope that he doesn't manage to get away with that one. But, we don't know where that's going to go as of this time. So, is this guy going? Is this even going? I can't tell. I don't think it is. Let's see if we can get it moving here. See if there's some other interesting stuff about coronavirus on there. And then, the continuing economic crisis that's moving through just about all areas of the economy is really getting out of control. States that don't really have a huge problem as of yet are really overreacting at this point. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of waiters, waitresses, and so forth in many states are now out of work. Cooks, like me, out of work. And then the airline industry continues to cancel more and more flights, and fewer people are traveling. And it's really hard to see how the airline industry can possibly survive this thing. They normally work on a very thin margin as it is, all right, and they go bankrupt regularly. If you followed the airline industry over the years, the big ones of my youth, Pan American, Pan Am, and TWA, Trans World Airlines, both went bankrupt. And then we've had numerous mergers and acquisitions over the years in that field, and I can't imagine how these airlines are going to survive. And you got on top of the coronavirus, you've got 737 debacle with Boeing, where all of those planes remain grounded. Well, now they don't need the planes, so. But Boeing is not going to be selling too many planes as this thing moves along here. I mean, there's plenty of working ones right now, enough for the customers, and then you got the price war going on with Saudis and the Ruskies, and they're trying to keep some cash flow going. And prices keep dropping, and the gas prices out at the pump, those keep dropping too. All right, we're seeing sub $2 a gallon prices now, at least down in lower 48. I don't think we're below $2 yet up here. I haven't been out to look at the gas pump prices in the last couple of days. Well, I've been out in the last couple of days going shopping, but I didn't look at the gas prices, and we didn't stop for gas. So I don't know there. When I get out next time, I'll have a look at that. In yesterday's video, I talked about the panic going on in the food stores, and that hasn't resolved itself really as of yet. Up here, I'm sure it's worse down in the lower 48. I have plenty of food. I'm not worried on that end. So, anyhow, I'm going to hold off on publishing this one probably until Sunday, because I have back-to-back videos up. We're getting great viewership, great response. Thank you, diners and other viewers, for stopping by and checking it out. And, stop by Inside Diner Forum and give us some comments and chat and your thoughts and where you think this is all going. We always want to hear from new people. And if you haven't commented on the diner, you're a new person. At least us. So anyhow, I am going to try to hold off on doing another video this week because I am shot with the editing and the setup and doing the cooking and getting the cameras right and all that stuff. Man of many hats, as you can see. Okay, you like my newest one, the Alaska? Very stylish. All right, that's all to do. This time until next time, here on the Collapse Cafe, Cooking Zone, and Collapse Morning Wake Up Call of the Doomstead Diner. Hasta la corned beef and cabbage and beer, okay, beer.